Sorry about that. G'day, friends and fans, and welcome to Dave Talk Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 9th of January 2025. The Ukraine war continues, and of course the major headline today is Putin's retaliatory strike on Ukraine. Now, before I get to the retaliatory strike, we'll go around the map. Of course, it is marked off. Can you guess? Can you guess? Kiev. All the usual suspects, right? Well, Sumy didn't get anything. Kiev got all the love today, although Western Ukraine over at Lviv got a little tickle. Kryvyi and Dnipro and not Mykolaiv, but Kherson and Odessa got a bit of a tickle, but Putin didn't spread all the love, not equally. They're quite upset that he didn't spread the love equally. Some cities got left out. All right, so we got action without movement on the front line, all the way through the bear trap. Though there is a push towards Lyman, it's only barely registered on the map. Kozk, lot of fighting, but nothing really. No moving and no shaking in battle group center. Myriad is still holding, though. The Russians continue to grind the Ukrainians at Pavos Station. And yeah, as we go around the map, it is frozen. And perhaps that's deliberate, but I doubt it. But it could be buying time. Probing the Ukrainian lines for the exact time and place for a breakthrough. But we're getting into the second and maybe third week of January. That's shortening the winter offensive time. Although maybe they want a short offensive. Maybe they don't want to push much further. They meant the Russians, or should I say the Security Cabinet that Putin relies on to run this war. But either way, the front is frozen. But of course, it has not stopped the war. Parts of Ukraine got slammed as Russia launched a large attack. Parts of Dnipro and the city's military administration in Kiev, multi-story buildings throughout Ukraine were hit. Somewhat by falling degree. The infrastructure in Lviv was hit. Now, apparently there was when the missile exploded, it damaged a lot of buildings in Ukraine, in particularly. So yeah. It cracked them. Look, that's a building far from the epicenter of the explosion. But there were multiple explosions, and I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, that's just an indirect hit. Cracked the building. Slammed it. That building is pancaked. It's buckled out of shape. Was not the direct target. Wasn't directly hit. None of these buildings they show you were directly hit by the missile. This was also hit by a fragment and set on fire. Zelensky went, they're attacking our energy system. Well, that was actually the reason why, is because you attacked. Remember, Ukraine attacked first. I know, people hate that word, but they attacked the energy infrastructure. Wait a minute. There we go. They attacked the energy infrastructure in Hukaliva. They attacked oil facilities in Russia. Most of them failed. So Russia launched a retaliatory strike, although primarily it was in response for the attack on Putin's residence. And so Zelensky's having his boo-hoo, pity me moment. But there's a fragment just smashed out a section of a building. But there's going to be sanctions, nothing to do with today's missile strike. These have been planned for some time. Zelensky has apparently been given the green light to make an announcement after appearing with President Trump that they have an agreement on security guarantees. These will be presented to Europe now, a bilateral document that basically being presented now by Zelensky in Paris. Ukraine agrees or accepts, what America's involvement will be. And, basically, Zelensky's making this about him. It's not about you gobshite. But, the official narrative is that the Omsk strike is response to the attack on Putin's residence, which everybody in the West says never happened, or you're lying, and never. Of course, they never look at the evidence, right? And even if it was 100,000, they had everything, right? In film, in real time, they had all the serial numbers, everything. They're not going to say, oh yeah, that was us. 20 years later, someone will write a book on how we attacked Putin's president. A deep, in-depth dive into the attack on the Putin's lair, the nest of the most vile Putin. It's coming, right? Every time. Once you live long enough, you start to hear, you start to get your CIA document dumps, and you start reading them, and you start going, holy shit, everything they denied is true. Now, Trump has backed a congressional bill, right, that increases, as the president predicted, that if things don't go his way, that he'll impose more tariffs. He'd been resisting a maximum tariff, a real punitive punishment, not just on Russia directly, but indirectly. After talks with Lindsey Graham, anybody buying Russian gas or oil will be hit with these sanctions. First will be China, though there is no set date on when this is enacted, and nor is there a timer. It seems that once the process is complete with these talks, we'll find out the Russian response, and then America will make its decision if it's right time to impose these sanctions, and we'll see how Russia responds. But Russia did respond. Now, here's the official statement. Facilities, plural, in producing unmanned aerial vehicles used in the terrorist attacks, as well as the energy infrastructure, were hit. But of course, this is the dilemma, I suppose. You have a situation where you have two or more people who can't say anything other than political talking points. Putin can't change his mind. Trump can't change his mind. Europe will never admit the truth. And Zelensky will keep thumbing his nose at Putin from behind and acting like he's the king, of the playground because he's an untouchable. But in fact, he's just hiding behind the skirts of others. Now, the official narrative is that 4 people were killed and 25 were injured. We have no idea. Right. Most of the attacks on Kiev, when they come, nothing seems to stop, right? But these areas that are hit at night are usually industrial, so they're probably well planned ahead of time to minimize casualties. This is the second time that Russia has used the Oreshnik missile in military action. The first, of course, being the attack on the center of Dnipro. Now, we do not have the explosion because the Oreshnik hit multiple sites. That is because the Oreshnik is a multi-warhead missile. It actually carries a payload, and the missile fragments in air and sends a burst of explosive shards, and these shards are red. Apparently, they're red hot. They're force. So they're caked by the explosion of rocket fuel with they're caked with the burning rocket fuel, probably ready to explode themselves. These are balls of high explosive. They'll probably shatter on impact, and because they're pretty much cooked, they're primed to explode. And these shards explode with great force. Now, I'm not sure if this is a random or a fixed amount of shards, but apparently you've got your central core, and you got the balls inside. You got your cone, which just basically is like pressure relief. It just basically goes smashes in whatever into the ground in this. Usually it's more a contained explosion, like we've seen the first time, where the explosion and the shards and the distribution is. But apparently this time it was used as a airburst, and multiple shards were spread throughout the city, with the primary explosions heard all echoing throughout the Kiev suburbs. But clearly, we go to the map. There we go. There you go. It's where they hit multiple. So, yeah, it exploded over the city and spread its shards. So it wasn't a what we would call a full hit, right? It didn't narrow in and say destroy one area. So it's showing that this missile is versatile, that it can do damage over a widespread spread area, using as a carrier of multiple warheads. Of course, multiple impact vehicle devices are not new. You had the already back in the 60s, America was developing tank killers to spread bomblets over a wide area to hit estimated 5,600 tanks that would be used in the first wave of a Soviet hit into Germany, which never came. The Russians had their tanks sitting there for no good reason. But I think it was the late 80s, early 90s when the West finally admitted that those tanks were there because they feared a American attack fearing that some cowboy would come in and steamroll Eastern Europe, in a yippee-ki-yay moment, to prove his chops as a great liberator or whatever. So at least the Russians knew they were, admit that communism somewhat needed liberation from. But never mind that, right? Never mind the facts. So, Kiev, these shards create a lot of fire, but you can see in the background there is a primary area that was hit and set fire to and pretty much flattened. And there's so we have various narratives, because there's various impact points across the city. But there were said drones seen watching and observing the fires, what was hit, recording everything. They weren't strike drones, but they were shot down anyway. No, you cannot have the private video of my misery. Because Zelensky was not in Kiev, he was in Paris. Of course, they'll show him on TV walking through the looking concerned and nodding quietly as he imitates Churchill walking through the wrecks. But it's all CGI. You really think he left Paris? Mr. Homeless, yeah. This war is coming to an end, and I've said it often, and you'll see it. Once you see it, the bloodier it gets, the closer we are to the end. And it's like, armistice took a month in World War One. World War Two was much quicker, but Korea took a year and a half from the time of declaring an end to the war to actually getting to it. And Vietnam took a year before the withdrawal, Panama City, that was quick, one and done. So it's not like there is a timetable I can point to and say, here, this is a conflict Ukraine is like, and this is how it's going to end. No, all I can say is that historically, belligerent powers who when they're in a protracted war will try to do as much damage as they can, but they will try not to escalate. See, the West keeps escalating wars pointlessly, right? India and China are technically at war, but they don't talk about it, they don't enact it, they don't massive armies and go for it at each other's throat. Instead, now and again they'll send a piece here, a piece there, move little things on the map. There'll be, a Chinese incursion into India. There'll be little incursions here and there. Thailand, yeah, sure, Thailand and Cambodia blew up, but again, it was, Chinese Thailand, deciding to drop the hammer on some Chinese gangs, and Cambodia decided that they'll join in. There are times of escalation, but they're brief, like the Kurds and Syrians today. It didn't last long. I think we're going to see a lot of little flashpoints, and these are all proxy wars. China is trying to keep America destabilized, enact a color revolution. If you haven't figured that out yet, that all these Democrat activists are trying to destabilize America, to collapse it, to get in there, to drive out the white man. Of course, it's all driven by stupid white women, but that is where we're at. And the Ukraine war is something that Trump wants to get onto the done pile and move on to the next dung pile. And it looks like the next dung pile will be Mexico. But it could be Cuba, never know. There's some people who are going, I like El Presidente of Venezuela, but really, I want to Cuba. I want to be the king of Cuba. So we'll see. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please support the channel. You can support the channel on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, and buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree. Thank you, each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.